The number one way to inspire change in someone's life is by sharing your story. Imagine if your story was the one in a million that someone desperately needs to hear. I'm Devin Schubert, and I'm on a mission to share 1 million stories across social media. And I want your story. It's time to take your story to the stage. And now, here's one of those stories.
You are beautiful. 3 words that I long to hear for as long as I can remember, but 3 words down deep inside, I wasn't sure if it was really true. You see, ever since I was a little girl, I would curl up in my bed at night and I just wanted to be normal. I just wanted to fit in. All of my life, I've lived with charge syndrome, which means I have a short right arm. I'm blind in both eyes, but more in my left eye with coloboma. I'm deaf in my left ear, partially deaf in my right ear, and I have a pacemaker. There's just a lot of challenges that I had from ever since I was born. And I knew that it separated me from everybody that I was with. So imagine my surprise, years down the road, passing by so many things that I had worked so hard. And I was now a mom of 3 amazing boys. I also owned my own business, Step Out and Thrive Coaching. I owned my own home. I even, for a period of time, drove my own car. I was determined that even though I had physical challenges, that I was going to be just as good, if not better, than anybody else. I didn't let the cards that I was dealt define me. But here's the one thing that struggled with me. The cards kept getting worse, or so it seemed. On this particular day, my oldest was getting his braces off. I was so excited. I found myself walking and pacing the sidewalk outside of the orthodontist office because even though he was excited inside, I had just received a call that had forever changed my life. On the other end were medical doctors that had realized that my vision and my hearing had been slowly decreasing over the past couple years. And they weren't sure what to do, so the result was this. Bethany, we think you're going to lose the rest of your vision and your hearing. We're not sure when, we're not sure how, but it could happen. So just prepare yourself. I remember getting the call and just out there looking at everything on the sidewalk. And everything within me curled up into the same ball that I used to be at when I was growing up. I wanted to be back in my bed. I didn't want to keep trying because it seemed like the harder I tried, the worse things got. Because I had worked so hard to be here. I had worked hard to own my own business. I had worked hard to raise my boys. I had worked hard to be independent and own my house, all for what? My knees hit the concrete that day, and tears just filled my eyes. I didn't understand what God was doing. But out of the corner of my eye, I looked up and I saw an amazing rainbow. God had been teaching me up to that point about beauty, reminding me that it's not what's on the outside that matters, that it's all about what He is doing. And when we can see what He is doing, it changes everything, because it's like putting on a new pair of glasses. We get to see the world differently. I mean, yeah, there's still physical challenges, and yet there's still situations out there that I can understand. But when I look through God's glasses, it changes everything. It makes life worth living. So I looked at the rainbow that day and I felt like God was saying, baby girl, I want you to go chase my beauty. You can still see, you can still hear, you can still experience things that not even everybody in this current world and day can experience, but I've given you a gift that I want you to share to the world. So I started learning, I started chasing beauty as I got to go with my youngest kiddo into the hearing aid office because he wears hearing aids too. And he got to look over and say, Mom, we're so alike. Isn't that cool? I didn't have that growing up. I was the only freak wearing hearing aids. But here he had his own mom that got to celebrate the differences with him. Or it could be like my middle kiddo, teaching him with homework and noticing that he can do math a whole lot better than I could ever do. And realizing that he's amazing and smart and talented. And even though I might not be able to see or understand what he's working through, he just is smart. And I get to see that genius, and I get to sit beside him and watch him as he progresses. Or just like my oldest kiddo, I actually got to be in the car as he learned how to drive. Let that sink in. I was with my oldest kiddo as he learned how to drive, and there's no brake pedal. But he learned, and he's an amazing driver, and he's literally driven our family around the country. I share all this because I feel like we come across experiences that don't really always make sense when we don't see beauty. I want to share a second story. This is after I started really accepting my vision and my hearing loss. I played a game called Beep Ball. Now, if you've ever heard of baseball, beep ball is almost the same thing, except you have a ball that beeps, and everybody on the field has to be, ready for this, blindfolded. It's actually a game that they came up for to make vision loss and those that have good vision play together on an equal playing field, literally. And my boys went out there, my mobility specialist recommended this bonding experience, and here I was at the tee. All I had to do was hit the beeping ball, literally, because the ball beeped. That's all I had to do. And all I wanted to do was just impress my boys, because I knew they were with me. I knew that they knew that I was going through challenges. I just wanted to be able to tell them, hey, I can hit the ball. I'm going to be okay. I put the blindfold on, the ball started to beep, and all I had to do was hit it. I found myself inside the batter's box, but every time my eyes closed, I just saw my boys laughing at me. I just saw the world around me closing in. It wasn't reality, but it seemed like it was reality for me. And the harder I swung, the louder the beeping seemed to be, because the ball never left the tee. It was at that moment that I had a tap on my shoulder and this voice saying, "Bethany, step out of the batter's box." It was the coach, and he was trying to help me learn how to hit. So I stepped out, and he said words to me that I will never forget. He said, "Bethany, you're swinging that bat like you've hit a ghost. You were meant to do more than just survive. Bethany, you were given the ability to thrive. You've already been given everything you need. Shut your eyes, trust what God has already given you, and hit the ball." Yes, sir. So I found myself stepping back into the batter's box, taking a deep breath, and I realized something. My coach was blind, and he saw more in me than I saw in myself. I said, "God, I need you to show me who I am. Because if this man that barely knows me better than I know myself, I want you to show me who I really am. I need to see the beauty that you're doing in this situation." So I shut my eyes again, and I turned on the ball, and it was beeping. Beep, beep, beep. And I put the blindfold on, I took a deep breath, and I asked God, "God, please show me what you see when you look at me." And in my mind's eye, I saw an image of me and my boys sitting on the couch, eating popcorn, watching a movie, laughing close together. And I just got that realization that everything's going to be okay. I don't have to be able to explain it, but everything's going to be okay. God can make beauty in the middle of the chaos. I took a deep breath and I swung, and I remember the feeling of everything radiating through the bat. The ball soared through the air. In my imagination, it felt like it did, but it did go all the way to the back fence. I made it safe to the first base, but more than anything, at that moment, I felt alive. I felt like I could just be me, beautifully, wonderfully created me. The last story I'm going to share is when I realized that it was okay to ask for help. And I realized that's a struggle for many of us. But if we really know our own beauty and worth, we know we can do that. I found myself inside the sanctuary at our church, and the service had just ended. What's weird about our sanctuary is that the lighting, for some reason, drives my eyes nuts. There are many days that I feel the vertigo which means it literally feels like the floor is shaking underneath my feet. My eyes can't focus, and I have to use my white cane in order to navigate, or I would literally fall over. On this particular day, my oldest was really excited because it was the day that he had really started driving and he was going to pick me up. He was so excited that he actually took the cane with him out to the car. He was trying to be helpful, and he didn't realize that I needed it because I didn't tell him. I was trying to do it by myself. But I still had to pick up my youngest from the kids area. I remember standing up that day and the ground shaking beneath my feet. I remember feeling like I was going to just hurl. And I stood there against a solid wall, and I knew I had two choices. One, I could try to figure out where my phone was and text my son and ask him to probably bring the cane, but I could not even see straight in order to do that. Or two, I noticed to my right there was a friend that knew what was going on in my vision situation. I could ask for help. It was at that moment that I remembered seeing the rainbow, and I remembered how much God loved me. And I remember the motion of hitting that baseball and the life that came through me just being myself. I was worthy to ask for help. I was beautiful. I was cared for. So I looked to my right and I spoke to the gentleman who's actually an elder at our church. And I said, hey, my oldest son has my cane and I really need it in order to get out. I told him the situation and he immediately took it upon himself. Then he rushed out. I was assuming to get the cane. He never really said what he was doing. And he rushed out, and I just remember standing there. And for a moment, I felt really alone. There was nobody there. And I started thinking, what if he doesn't come back? I finally asked for help. And what if I'm stuck here? And how am I supposed to tell people what I need? And as soon as I got to that moment, he came back into view, and he had my cane. And he said words that I'll never forget. He said, Bethany, thank you for inviting me in. You see, when we get to live our stories and our beautiful moments out with other people, we get to invite people into what God is already doing. We get to let them see through our glasses. We get to let us see Him in amazing, new, active ways. We have two choices in this life. We can choose to survive, defined by our circumstances, or we can really thrive through Him receiving impossible victories every day. So my challenge to you, friend, are you going to do more than just survive? Are you going to really step out and thrive? Go chase beauty.